finally made it up onto the tower, just to prove where I am. There we are. The old weather vane up there. Someone informs me Harry Hemmings made. I don't think he put it up there though. And a snippet of useless information. It swivels on a marble rather than a ball bearing. As I'm told, marbles don't rust.
Well, it's a nice day for this up here.
Excuse this bobbing about because it's very difficult walking. There's drains and troughs and gullies and all manner of stuff to see where I'm going. As you can hear, it doesn't matter about me going over the side, but I don't want to ban Jack's video.
Pat won't be friends with me at all. Yeah. St Mary's Church. Fads.
See a minute, let's see what we can say. Bedford Street. Checking the old dugout. Co-op car park line empty. It's a silo. That'll take some getting down, I think. I'm told it was built by prisoners of war. Should have kept our lads on to take it down. Probably a similar sort of thing, prisoners of war for the last few weeks. It could be getting a bit boring up here now. I don't think we can see inside this tower, but I'll give it a try. As I shuffle along, risking life and limb. It's a bit too dark. A bit too dark. They're falling over the bloody edge. Remarkable. Timber's in perfect condition by the looks of them. Be nice to see what they do with this place. Anyway, I better switch off before I fall over the edge.
Right, so I've just come round at the right time after looking at those boilers. They're about to load one of the old mash mixers. They've been sold rather than scrapped. They don't look particularly sparkling. They didn't look particularly sparkling when they were inside. Nothing did. I told Tommy he was on video, he wasn't particularly impressed. And he wouldn't mind if he got overtime for it. Come on, let's have this out. Gee, guys. Don't know how much these lads are insured for. After all. I suppose the street's working. I'll have to give my hands and arms a rest for a few minutes. Right. One trailer full of scrap, or should I say canning line, ready for the aft. Probably it'll take all the dented cans that used to be thrown away. And by the looks of it, it's in a sorry state. God, isn't it quiet? Probably even Sam's asleep. Green tent. Let's go to the green tent. See when I'm walking. Plenty of old rolls for the maize plant, etc. All manner of bits and pieces. All machines out there. Vehicle repair place. This building went up originally to house flour and products from the flour mill. When we had no storage space, we just used to leave it out in the yard under sheets. And then we had to contend with the rats and everything else that came through. And they put this up. And it was moved down to here with a pit for vehicle repairs. They filled the pit in and now it just takes any old rubbish. Mostly cardboard and cans, etc. And now told it's going up to Newark to take drums. It'll be alright. No ends on it now worth talking about. The wind made short work of that. Just bang me leg. I didn't swear. Another look at this rubbish. So I don't think even Jerry had managed to run that when he's put back together again. A sorry state. Never mind. They can always give me a ring at once in a price and I'll do a few $100 for them. From tomorrow onwards, of course. The old office. Can't see Alan up there. No sign of him. Packing warehouse. All that equipment in there I think is going with the MMA. Rather a shame. Lovely bins, lovely packer. But it served its purpose for Paine. Can I walk around, see if they've got this mixer on yet, or whether it's everybody stopped for tea. Oh, there it is, it's going on. There she goes. Don't want to get too close to those people. I mean, a bit dangerous up there. And if Stella sees this film of men with next to nothing on, we'll never be able to handle it. The old wet mill. Still lying there. Plenty of rubbish left behind after the hurricane. Anyway, it looks as if that's nearly safely loaded. So call it a day then. At 12:15. We managed to get that boiler away from the boiler house. It looks intact. I don't know about the boiler house brickwork, but everything seems to be going according to plan. You've got to hand it to these lads, they know what they're doing. I certainly wouldn't like to attempt something like that. I don't know what that boiler weighs, but I suppose it could be a 25 ton or something. That's only a guess. Certainly ain't light. Everything seems fairly secure. Bits and pieces had to be taken off the top, evidently, to allow it to get under the bridge out of St. Neots. £12.25. The old boiler house. Looks nothing like a boiler house now. Incidentally, those boilers weigh 34 tonnes. The kind gentleman just told me. Both boilers weigh roughly the same. There's a newer of the two boilers stood at the back, ready to go on a low loader at some time. The one that you saw being loaded evidently is going off to Pakistan. They'll take any old crap there, they say. So we walk down, see what we can see. Look back again, incidentally. They didn't do a lot of damage to the brickwork, just caused it in one little spot. Nothing that a bit of polyfiller won't repair. That's the old brick chimney. Side of the mill building, up in the tower where I was before. Cooler down here. So that's the end of another department. Just putting the last finishing touches to that one. Chain it down, etc, etc. Make it safe. And here cut it up a bit of tubing. Simon up to no good again. He keeps popping up, doesn't he? Eh? Bit of a poser, really. There you are, there he is, yeah. Come on, Simon, show us your good side. Show us your good side, Simon.
Maintain Tommy Desperate.
Oh, he's always in the picture. Bless him. Salman Rushdie, still on the loose. Pleased with himself, those boilers are out. The other boilers go into somebody's yard and sell that on, I think, after the servicing. The old boiler, I'm told, is not a lot of good, but we still found a home for it. Looking a bit boring now. So I'll sign off for the time being and go and have a cup of coffee. Right, we're back around by the side of the boiler house in Bennett's. Second boiler's out. The low loader is in position, but the boiler's just on blocks at the moment. The old boiler at the back, they've in fact taken more stuff off the top. They burnt the walkway off it, and all other bits and pieces that have been sticking up to allow it to get under the bridges out of St. Neots. This one, I don't think they've many worries. I don't think it's going too far away, maybe going the other way where it doesn't have to contend with the bridge. So everything's very peaceful at the moment. Scrapmen are starting to clear out the boiler house a bit. So we'll walk around the other side. Let's see how the boiler house is looking now. Steady. Bits and pieces on the back of the lorry from the other boiler. The vultures are starting to tidy up.
This is the before and after.
That's the one, mate. Give us a smile. That's the one.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Everybody wants to get in on the act. Don't know what's going to happen to these old outloading bins. Terrible source of infestation. No way could you keep the moths and the bugs out of them. I think everybody's gone for a pint. Came around here full of hope of seeing this damn boiler dragged on the lorry. I'll give them another half hour, see what's happening. So I think I'll make the most of it while it's quiet and head for the mill. I'm now in the mill. Not a very pleasant task. Spouts down, bolts lying all over the floor. I worked for 11 years to keep the place clean. It only takes a week or two to destroy it. I don't think the light in here is too good, but we'll give it a try. The old line shafting, which I stopped using within 12 months of being here because it's so dangerous. Put individual motors on all the valves upstairs. Bits and pieces of the maize plant. That's turned out a few ton. A shambles. But hopefully it'll be, the old building will be cleared out with something made of it. I can almost picture a little cash desk just to the right of the door with either Sam or Fiona collecting the money,
Let's look at the museum. As mentioned before, Tom stood the other side, duly stuffed, with a bunch of keys hanging from his waist. One thing they've got to do though, whoever has this place has got to contend with the mill ghost. Several years ago, I came back. It was Sunday afternoon to write down on the roll sheet the requirements for the Monday morning. I came through that door, closed it, then I slowly went up these stairs, nice and steady. Onto the roller floor. Came down here to the table, here, sat down at a chair and began scribbling down the orders. I was only here a minute or two, and I heard the door open down below and close, and then every single step was trodden on. Slowly but surely somebody came up the stairs. I wasn't particularly bothered. I thought it was Tom on his rounds. And at the top of the stairs, the steps stopped. So I stood up to have a look, and there was nobody there. I can tell you, within 15 seconds, I wasn't here either. I went down those stairs 6 at a bloody time. It frightened the life out of me. And I'm not the only one to have experienced the same sort of thing. Anyway, back to the job in hand. Olive holes, spouts taken down in places, motors disconnected, lots of muck around, Mother Nature starting to take over with the insects. Let's try and find a patch where there's a good bit of live stuff. Yeah, spouts lying down. Still not too good for light in here, so the camera tells me. Can't do much more. All the lights are on. Some good rolls, which would be a shame to see destroyed. But other old stuff which doesn't owe us a lot. The old wooden elevators, terrible source of infestation. Inside, they're just a labyrinth of tunnels for the flower beetle. Sets of rolls ready for either sending away and regrinding, or in this case, a set of rolls already reground and fluted, ready to go in this roll. But they'll go to scrap like the rest of it. Just have another stroll down a little bit, although there's no passageway through now for all the rubbish on the floor. Very mixed feelings about this. Not a very nice sight. The hours I've spent here, middle of the night, weekends, whenever necessary. Keep it going, keep it tidy. Right, up to the next floor. The old thumb's getting dead. Purify floor. Call that because this machine is a purifier. Similarly, bits and pieces lying on the floor, bolts out. Little bits of plant off the maze. Duly marked. M&F plant. Start again, Colin. A lot of good stuff around. Handy for somebody who wants it. Criminal if it gets broken up. What I want's a good patch of infestation. There we are. If I can get round to it, we'll show you. Now then, let's get it. That's it. All those marks are caused by a little beetle which is called the confused flower beetle. It does have a Latin name, but Scousers don't learn them. You can see it's called confused because it goes round and round and round and round and seems to vanish. Don't tell you where it vanishes, but there's quite a few tracks of these little buggers around. But it is 12 months, over 12 months since we fumigated, so it's not too bad. I don't think the old dear from the co-op would be very happy if she walked around now. I suppose if I had my little white hat on, she'd be quite happy. So we'll walk up on the top floor. I've got a feeling this is running out, so I'll have to sort the battery out and maybe a film and film changed, battery changed, film changed, coughing again after coming up the downstairs. So now we're on the sifter floor. It's a big sifter. Changed the cabinets on there about 3 years ago. It's just a metal framework with 2 timber cabinets on either side, and it's completely hollow in the middle where it says Robinson there. Inside there's a rather large counterbalance weight, which I think weighs in the region of a ton. A little sifter over there, walk around. There's a little sifter, much older than a big sifter, but it's stayed intact, getting a bit leaky. All the old sieves. If we wanted any new sieves making for these sifters, they used to do it on 6 to 2 shift or 2 to 6 PM on the 2 to 10 shift, because after that the lads refused to spend more than about 10 minutes up here at a time, because they all felt some sort of presence, especially when they were stood in the corner here at this table making up sieves. They always felt there was someone behind them. That's everybody that's worked in this mill, just have the feeling. Not just the odd one or two. And that's not an old yarn I'm telling you, it's the truth. So we have bits and pieces of the maize plant up here. There again. Bits which hopefully we'll get out and safely move to Stone Market. Lots of other plant still to go which won't be claimed by the MMA. They even pull the ladders off away from the gantries to prove that we couldn't start it again. Not a lot they could do up here really. The bits and pieces they just connected were mainly the maize plant, but they went to know that we couldn't undo the sifters because when you took the last bolt out they would have ended up on the bottom floor because they are only suspended 4 corners by these canes, or Spanish reeds is the right word for them. And they support them. One hell of a weight. The old elevator heads with the leather belting on. Whoops. One big line shaft. Still rather dangerous, but I was allowed to use this, carry on using it in this day and age because it was really well out the way, but the spoked wheels there were rather dangerous. Get somebody's fingers if they were daft enough to get up there and put the hand near them. So, up in the gods, the gantry. And the ladder, which Pat knows well. That leads up. And up, and up, and up, and up, and up. Into the tower. A very eerie sensation. It was always eerie at the best of times. But now with these machines doomed, it's quite a sorry time. But, okay, set up. I don't think I can see out of any of these windows because they're all wide or frosted. Or see if I can manage to get one open anywhere. Have a look out. Yeah. Sunny St. Neots. St. Mary's Church in a bit. Pakistani boiler. It's quite different getting a very good daylight into this place. Not quite so eerie. Well, I suppose doing this for Paine's malt was, to some extent, rubbing salt into the wounds. Because when I work on the extract, it won't mean a damn thing to me. But we have put a lot of time and effort into holding this place together. Because the interest in the flour mill finished with me. I certainly weren't ever in a hurry to put the money in the pockets to give me a few bob to improve things, but would have been nice had Garrett to come on this side. We'd door this out and brand spanking new stuff. I very much doubt if I'd have stayed on this side. I think the death of this place was the cue for me to move on and see what we can get our teeth into in the future. Hopefully make a mark for myself somewhere. So enough of the witter in Taylor. I think we've said all of this to say about the flour mill. The MMA will come in here with big hammers, I'm told. Just thump everything. So it cannot be used again by anybody else. And then the scrap boys will shift it. So if I'm here much longer, I might have that big hammer put through myself. So I'll head off to other departments. Right, back on the roller floor, because I'll have a walk into the mill warehouse. Seems I've got to cover all departments. On a lighter note, I must have a look to see what sort of pin-up picture we've got for July on the calendar. Or should I say August? That's July. Let's try it. Yeah, that's July. Let's try August. Oh, that's a shame. I'm going to miss that every morning. I might take that with me. Anyway, out into the mill warehouse. Through the walkway. I think the light will be even worse in here. Right, mill warehouse is where the flour and wheat feed come through for weighing. Machines which take out the necessary bran particle sizes. That's an old cooler of a pelletizer when we used to pelletize wheat feed. Haven't done for years. If you control panels. Spouts strewn around again, nuts and bolts. All kinds of rubbish. Go downstairs. This is not easy. Blow lines disconnected from blowers. These are the blowers that blew all the products, the flour and the bran, over to the packing bins. Vacuum cleaner. We want a JCB in here now, not a vacuum cleaner. That's it. You see all the bends and what have you, the blow lines on the floor there. Scales. Back bin for the wheat feed. Not a pleasant sight. Right, we go down into the bowels. This is below ground level. The bottom of that window there is, or just below the bottom of that window outside is ground level. So we have this, there's a pump in a drain there which comes on automatically if it starts filling up because of the high water table around here under normal circumstances, not this time of the year, not with the drought we've been having. Not a lot down here. By the looks of it, the lads didn't know this part of the world existed. There's no knocking boat out here. Must have stopped for a cup of tea and forgotten about it. Right, that's enough of that. Get through this maze of spouting again. This little room in here, we used to, in the early days, we used to take bran off there for Weetabix. 37 tonnes a week on pallets, you know, create a problem shifting it all the time. And it was packed on round the clock on shift work. There you are, the window here. Gasboard land and across to the Colin. The trees at the back of the Colin. Back through. Back through on the roller floor. Back down the creaky stairs. You can't mistake anybody walking on these. Doesn't it look a shambles? Well, what employees? Back out in the sunshine again. Very quiet over this side. Head towards the extract factory. Like a few gaps where stuff's being taken out. I know that was for holding wet grains. Get a brownie point for that. Now if I head up the stairs, I'll head through here first. It's too dark. Let's see if I can find a light. Success. I think the majority of this stuff is for a few minutes because my thumb is... Right, I've digressed a little from the Morse extract because I'm actually starting to put this other boiler on the low loader. And in fact what they've got is the boiler on blocks. And they actually pull the low loader underneath the boiler. I suppose it's understandable. the back there holding that ladder up in case it falls on somebody. I came through and there's a man on that winch. It's sod's law that as soon as I start filming he goes. It's not happening. I want him to start on the winch again. I'll have a break for a second. Right, I'm back in the extract again because that boiler isn't moving very fast onto the low loader. Light's awful in here, but you can see this whole can's been ripped out. See if I can thread my way through without too much damage to rifle limb. Let's go up these stairs and see what we can see up there. Find the light switches. It's gotta be too dark in here now. Let's see if they work. Success. The sunny state again up here. Mash mixers, I think. Still here. Plenty of piping and stuff. Big hole where something was. No dirty evaporators and other bits and pieces stood here, all gone. Still plenty of stuff around. That gap there in the cladding was due to the last storm we had, the wind. Nothing to do with the contractors. I reckon this does look cleaner than it used to be. Down the steps again. Keep expecting Rose Murphy to pop up. What you doing? God, even alarms are going off. Frighten the life out of you there. I don't know where the lights are for here now, so lots of water around. Let's see if we can find a light switch. Ah. Wonderful. None of them work. with my wellies on up here. Pipe swept out. Malt holders. Unlucky for some. Unlucky for the bloody lot. Gotta watch where I'm walking through. Let's see the other side of this door. This is through to, oh, it's locked up, the old extract lab. Neil's and Rose's domain. God, that looks tidy. There used to be a heap of at least 100 cigarette butts. And Rose would say, I clean my off. Characters we've had. Before Neil, of course, there was Richard Down. Neil was partial to his lunchtime pint, but I'm sure Richard Down beat him all ends up. Because in his days we used to do a lot of brewing in the test kitchen up in the lab. So Richard would go off for his lunchtime pint, his dinner hour of about 1 3/4 hours, come back, go up to the test lab and duly sample whatever was available. But we seem to have everything under control, including Rose. They got the tonnage out, they got the canning out, the men worked. But then we got Neil. That was the end of Rose Murphy's working days. Because she couldn't do right. So she did bugger all. So again, I apologise for lack of knowledge of the malt extract factory as to what's gone or what's left. But as can be seen, it's looking pretty rough. There's the bell gone again. I think we'll head for the wide open spaces again. Sounds like a public loo near the water running. It smells a bit like that as well. Right. I suppose this place has got to re-raise to the ground. That's all it's fit for now. Right into the fresh air again. Getting fairly near the end of this bit of film. So I'll just save switch off now, save it, so I can do the
I'm going up Pot Road now with this.
cutting now. Not a lot of film left on this, and the light's poor. Elevators. Here in the corner, which, if I can find anybody to take the damn stuff out. Kegged pin mill. Grinder. And associated equipment. Go up the stairs and take a look at that stuff up there. Cutters, what you want. Cutters for sale. Disc collector, cyclone. All manner of bits and pieces. This department really was the backbone of Paine's for so many years. A bit unsure of what I talked about in the last tape, so I'll start again. This cutting plant was the backbone of Paine's for many, many years. When I first came here, which is 11 years ago, the place ran 7 days a week, 24 hours a day. Cut wheat, 2 loads a day out to pet foods. Because I spent the first 6 months of my life here on various shifts in this department. So it gave me a good grounding in from the word go. So when it comes to this cutting department, I really know what I'm talking about. Unfortunately, the cereal side of pet foods has diminished due to the housewife thinking it's much better to buy Tittles and Fang dog food that's supposedly 100% meat and no cereal in. So the cheapy brands have diminished, and so has the demand for cut wheat. We had a spell for a while of doing kibbled wheat and kibbled rye to go into soft grain bread, which was very good while it lasted, but unfortunately RHM decided to do it in-house once they found out that the demand for the bread was fairly stable, and as we were doing 120 tonne a week, they took it on board, and that left us with very little to do in the way of cutting. And unfortunately this just lay idle most of the time, so at least I'll be taking a little bit of it with me, and hopefully we can do plenty of cutting and grinding, and so I'll have a bit of the place with me. A lot of the plant I'm going to take, which hopefully will start to move out in the next few days, is over in this corner. M&F plant, M&F plant, M&F plant, M&F plant. So the boys who are going to take it out have got a little bit of a problem. been unable to take the roof off. It's quite a big piece of kit. Can be sectionalised, but a hell of a lot of nuts and bolts. But we'll see how good they are soon enough. A few cutters going with me. The newer ones. Little feeders on the top. Don't know what happens to the rest. Scrap probably. Tripping over, but I didn't swear. De-stoner up on top, which we went in a couple of years ago to try and get all the stones out of the rye, which was always particularly bad for the wheat and rye that ended up in soft grain bread, because it got a bit expensive paying for people's dental repairs, but rye is particularly bad for stones because it's grown on poor stony ground. So I shall head off onto the bottom floor and have a look at the bits of kit down there which I'm going to take with me. Little mess room. Plenty of other kits which could be utilised by somebody. Right. Bottom floor. Main bits of kit that I want with me. Grinder. Whole thing weighs about 2 ton, I think. Very, very substantial base plate on it. Pin mill. There again. Quite a heavy bit of kit. So they're the bits I'll be really watching when they move them, because one little slip with them and they're ruined. Let's hope they'll allow me to paint it a better colour than this baby's nappy yellow. Through into the screenings disposal plant, which is where we used to dispose of any odds and sods of flour and offal and stuff like that. It's another bit of kit I want. That's a little vented tipping in unit, so you get no dust blowing back at you when it's switched on. The tip bags in. So we've got to get all this out. It's quite a way up. That bin, that bit of plant up there, heavy old air seal. So this bit of kit really isn't too heavy, but it's all awkward and all bulky. So we'll see how good these contractors are. They have reasonable sized doors to get stuff out of. Stroll onto a rather dark area, so I don't know how this will video, but it's rather dark in here. Well, this is the first of the 2 dryers. This is the one that blew up on us about 5 years ago. Step back a bit so we can see these radiators. So what we have is that box section houses for steam radiators, and the air is drawn through the filters at the end of the radiators, and through that pipe there, then gets drawn up and up and up and up to the top, where doubtful if you can see with the sun shining on it. Slowly comes down again. Rather like the Loch Ness Monster. Through there, back up, and into a large filter where the air and flour is separated. The flour is actually blown in from the mill into that pipe at the early stages of this piping. So you get hot air drawn through, flour blown into it, and that takes about 10% of the moisture out of the flour. The flour gets separated and gets blown over to our packing bins. Oh, very difficult to see here, no lights on it here. That's the big filter. And when we had the explosion, it simply, at the very top there's a very light panel, and it blew the panel off and went through the perspex roof. The reason the thing went on fire in the first place was that this bank of radiators has this connection at the back. You can see there's an inspection door now with 2 handles on. We didn't have that when it was installed, and due to having the plant choke for whatever reason, we got some flour that excuse me, got back and lay in a recess up against the radiator. And after having run this dry for 36 hours continuously, it picked up a little bit of charred flour, got it into the system, and the whole thing went bang. But all the explosion panels blew as they should do. The damage was limited to this part of the plant only. Slowly take a walk through towards the warehouse. Open the door. That brings us into the little room, which is outside the screen room, but there's no lights in the screen room at all, no windows on the bottom floor, so it's not worth walking in there. And to head for the new packing warehouse. Self-drive van used to picking up all bits and pieces of piping from the malt extract, the stainless steel stuff which can be used up at Newark. Just the doors open, no sign of anybody. We go through the passageway, heading towards the packing plant. Have a quick look in the silo. No lights in here either, so nothing that can be seen. A few bits and pieces of plant in here could be utilised, because it's not part of the MMA. It's stuff that was used on the cutting plant and the grinding plant. But all the bits and pieces down the middle are used the flour mill, so they've got to go. A little bit of plant here for the maize plant. So I'll head for the warehouse and I'll switch off till I get there. Right, I'm at the top of the new packing warehouse. Puffing a bit with walking up here. All this plant is part of the MMA deal, so it's got to be destroyed. It's rather a shame. Fourteen bins, 30-ton capacity each bin, all individual filters on them. Very, very flexible little plant. You can turn from one bin to another. Mix flowers. Do everything but play God Save the Queen on it. We had some problems up here in the past. One morning I came in to be told there was approximately 7 tons of flour which had blown out because of a faulty alarm, and it had blown out in between the bins. So there were 4 bins, the centre buried, most of the bin tops buried, and spreading out from there. I don't cry easily. I must admit it brought tears to my eyes that morning. Not only was the problem of disposing of 7 tons of flour, but the dust, of course, had blown to every single ledge, and it's not the easiest of places to clean, because the place is one mass of girders. There is no thought whatsoever given to the cleaning part of this plant. I mean, ledges should not exist, they should be boxed sections. So it took my assistant Cliff and myself and a few lads about 10 days, I think, to get it clear. Because a lovely floor when it was dusted down and brushed up and the floor mopped, and still got the old wooden floors. We did price putting vinyl down, but we were unable to get the money for that. Would have looked lovely. Well, these bins are the best bins I've ever seen. Not a mark on them, on the full length of them, 36 foot. In fact, I've got a photograph somewhere of me standing inside one, on its side I might add, when they were being manufactured up at Stotts up in Rochdale. All welded, ground and polished. Not a mark on them, but they're to be destroyed. That's the top floor. Let's put the lights up. Slowly head down the stairs. It's a nice view of a wall for you. That's even a nicer wall. And light. And another wall. Into the gloom. Put light on. Very little to look at on this floor. Just the continuation of these bins through each floor. Little bits of plant here from the secondary dryer. Secondary dryer is not like the Loch Ness Monster. It's a straight one that runs from bottom floor to top floor, and to date it hasn't blown up and it's not likely to now. Little sifter for the flour before it gets packed. There's quite a big gap at the end of each floor with rails round for any time extra bins were going to be put in and some bit of kit. Slowly look up. That's the top floor where I just left. And then this one slowly down to the next floor. But you can see gaps in the boarding there, and that's where the outloading bay is. There's two bins at the end here. Are for flour and cereal outloading. The flour bin, we could discharge 18 tonne of flour from it in about 3 or 4 minutes, straight into one part of the lorry. But we had to charge up the flour in the bulker with air first to fluidise it, and then it simply runs like water. That's a bit of a boring floor, so I'll head down the stairs. Bit more close-ups of brick walls. God, this is exciting. I tell you, the number of times we've had problems and we've come up these stairs 2 at a time. It's all right the first time, but when you're up and down half a dozen times, you certainly know you've done it. So this brings us down to the office floor. Say no more. Can't leave the room now. Right. Office floor. The bin discharges. That's a big discharger for the brand bin. That's the discharger that rattles the office when it starts and stops. It's all right when it's running, but as it starts and as it stops, it gets out of balance a bit and rattles everything. That used to upset Sam, that. Mind you, not a lot doesn't upset him. That's the outloading bin for the cereal. The front with a big discharger. The back one is for the flour. See those? Very difficult to see. Let me try and get you. Try again. The light's back. Those pipes going into the side of the bin are in fact the ones that take the air from a compressor to fluidise the flour. When we want to load a lorry, go up to the end of the fire escape. You're on a lovely August day. Church again. The house. Plenty of land, but very little happening. Right, so we'll head down to the scale floor because the time is marching on this tape. Just not me pipe out. More brick walls. Right scale floor. One common scale for flour and cereals. I should have sat down with pen and paper really and tried to work out how many bags that's tipped over its life. Quite a few million, I should think. Little odds and sods, a little part of a compressor that we had put in the first place before we bought a proper one for it, because we had a lot of problems in the early days with the scale through lack of good, dry, compressed air. We used to take it off the main compressor that was very wet and it was very variable with the demands of the malt extract. So we had to buy our own compressor and cooler. So we had a good constant pressure and dry air with it. And after that, we didn't have a lot of problems. Down to the bottom floor. Going down. Right, warehouse and packaging. Terrific size. Terrible waste of space, that's ceiling height. Before I talk about that packing line, I'll just walk through in the back. This is the bottom section of all the bins. Really the way to do it. This is a switch room where about, I think 6, 7 years ago, my friend Cliff and I were through here cleaning. He had the ladder up against that and the ladder went and he fell. He ended up in hospital. He wasn't too badly hurt. They say the injuries could have been worse, but fortunately he fell on his head. You'd expect that from me. So we got one discharger up there that's bound up with rope and cardboard and everything else, and that's been like that for 3 years now, waiting for Bennett to do something about it. I don't think Tom can handle it. Nice pair of steps. This building in the corner is the where we have all the compressors to try and keep the noise down a bit. Admittedly, it stopped the noise in this room, but you could hear them like hell on Mycroft Avenue. Let's have a look at big compressors. Very noisy beasts. More victims of the big hammer. And then we go through to the packing plant. Yeah. All ready for red crest. Upside down red crest, I should say. Seems strange not seeing Trevor up here, or Miss Piggy as we called it, because he was always combing his hair. Clive down at the far end, looking as handsome and nice as ever. the only employee who used to have to lock away in the old lab if we had visitors. We didn't mind them finding the odd flower beetle or moth around, but I think they would have stopped trading with us if they'd found a live Clive. So he's going to be one of the victims, I think, finding the job. In all fairness to the lad, it's a shame. So what we've got in here now, gone is the flour. What have we got? Homebrew labels. All you need now is a canning line to fill the cans and stick the damn labels on. Anybody want to buy a few pallets of empty flour sacks? Anybody in fact want to buy a building? Get a few bedrooms in here. Home mini book system. Never used. Bought in a panic. And all this will go. All the MMA. A few people have showed a lot of interest in this plant for buying it, which is understandable because of its age. But it is not to be with the scrapmans. I'll spend some time on that packet as well. Panels, spare panels. Oh well, what will be, will be. So I'll call it a day here. Right, I'm now in the laboratory. After finishing off, I think, most of the plant. I'd say some places I can't really get to due to the lack of illumination, but the silo's not particularly exciting, nor is the wheat shed. But the lab conjures up a few memories and people who've worked here over the years. Of course, when I came here we went up in this laboratory. We had a little old place down below at the back of the transport composer cabin. So I'm going to sit down and just have a little think. First, the last I can remember was Margaret Roberts. Probably she's best described as a female Bernard Manning, both in looks and mouth. Quite a character. One of my old rollermen. When I started, Margaret hadn't met me, and this rollerman called Roy, he said to Margaret, "Have you seen the new mill manager yet?" She said, No. You should see him, he's a hell of a big fella. 6'4", a mop of black hair. He's a hell of a size fella. No, he's going to be a rough one to contend with. So I go marching in the old lab one day, not even having met Margaret. And first thing she did was fall about Latin. So I felt a bit funny. I wondered what was stuck on my shoulder, or part of my attire. So it took her a while to calm down and inform me of what Roy had told her. I saw the funny side of it. Well, she was quite a character. I always got a joke. I think she wrote them for Bedford Manning. Of course, old John Adams. Well, Miss Old John. I wouldn't say anything about John, he was a good mate. He's helped me through a lot of problems, learned a lot of him. I'm gonna miss him. You know, the people come and go, students. And then the last one we had up here, doing my work up here anyway, was Orts. Flitting backwards and forwards, chumming into herself. Always feeling chewed. Talking about gorts and courts. Oh, they don't talk properly like me. There's been a lot of testing done up here. When the results were okay, nobody said anything. When they were wrong, we questioned the girls as to whether they knew how to do them properly. Especially Roseberry. Do you know what you're bloody doing? So some of this equipment appertaining to the flour mill. That little machine for testing the wheat when it came in. Scales. That machine which we lived and died by, which is the amylograph, which basically tested how well we had inactivated the wheat. This machine for testing the protein. I'll go with the MMA. When I first came here 11 years ago, we used to sweat on getting a figure of over 500 on that amylograph. With a lot of help from John, who got a normal amylograph of 1,000, and we worried about it if it dropped below 900. So we've learnt a lot. Never ever heard of heat treated flour until I came down here. It took me a few years to find out what it was all about. It's an eerie feel about the place now. Chemicals, all manner of glassware lying around. Empty books, scales, lots of papers. And the weather we're having, it'd be quite nice to get under there and pull the chain, I think. Oh yeah, it's just about small enough to stop you being flushed down. The office. Unfortunately at present there's a few too many people around to walk around the office and cover all the people that have sat in chairs on both sides of this place. Got a few likely characters around at the moment. Donald Cucumber, as he's been nicknamed. Pat making coffee, God bless her. And Tom spotted. He's got a wave to the camera. He's an ideal fella for candid camera. He easily makes a prat of himself. Mr. Rushby. Got to call him Mr. haven't we? The old electrician. I'll give it a break for a few minutes and then walk around. And look at that load, eh? Hours of meticulous writing and typing. And drinking. That might have been on the cellar's table. Filing cabinets. Bags full of rubbish. we'll have a walk around later, I think. Yeah, Mr. Rushby's still busy. Right. Main office. Interview room. No tables, no chairs. Some empty homebrew cans. Gotta keep hold of them, I think. Getting low on stock. The only exciting part about this room, I suppose, is when we had our flour mill meetings on a Friday. Although we got to the stage with the mill meetings that they lasted about 3 or 4 minutes, and then the extract meeting had lasted an hour and a half. There's never any interest shown in the flour mill since Robert left. But it suited me, because I didn't need chivvying up. But the only time your name would be mentioned in the dispatches was when you had a bit of a problem. Even if it wasn't, you weren't responsible for it. The things we suffered through lack of investment, etc., we'd still be at fault. Even though we brought it up time and time again at management board meetings when we had them. I can just picture Derek Hill sat opposite me. And Lance telling him they have to get out and get all the prices up, like straight away. And the following week we'd go to the meeting and we'd have about 50 ton of flour to do. He'd be told to get out, slash the prices to get the business. He used to go out shaking his head, as we all did. The meetings in the earlier days used to be a lot better when we went over to Market Square. A bit livelier then. Robert was there. John was his good old self, because he mellowed a lot over the last 5 years. Prior to that he was a real fiery character. Mick Griffiths, exceedingly fiery. Quite interesting. Bit of a daunting experience when we first started going to these mill meetings. And then you soon find out who knows what. Don would be asked a question like, how much he's paying for wheat, or selling wheat feed for. Never once in all the years, I know, did he give a straight answer. He always went all around the houses. He was a character, old Don. So I think I'll walk through into the main office. Pipe out again. Reception area first. Lots of good girls coming down from here. The last one we had was June the Swoon. Effervescent and bubbly as ever. Used to have Val Seekin sat over there. Working like hell all the time. Very, very efficient. For a while, Stella sat over in that corner. A bit noisy up here. Shelter's still alive. Stella used to sit over in that corner. Very, very difficult to get a word out of Stella. Very, very quiet lass. Very shy. So we're up the other end of the office at the moment, but it's a bit quieter.
The copy is at the new place for practice here.
Up past the main piece of equipment.
No, I've been doing the practicing course, right? Okay.
Sink and
I'm sorry.
coffee making facilities. Up to the very end here. That's a lot cooler. Over in that corner sat Don. Don used to work bloody hard buying the worst wheat possible, and barley, I might add. And he never got it cheap. It was an experience for me when I took over from Don back at Christmas. I threatened for years that I wouldn't have certain farmers in. I wouldn't deal with them because they brought rubbish in time and time again. And then if we rejected it here, Don would take it up to store, and then he'd sneak it back into store, from store to here, when we were low on wheat. And he'd get it inside, somehow. But he did not buy some rubbish. And I soon proved we could get decent stuff in for the same price by doing away with these bloody farmers. At the moment I can't remember who sat over in this corner. Next table down from where Don was my assistant Cliff. And then through there, the other side of the screen, was yours truly. Getting up everybody's nose. Cattle. And then there's Pat, we had Loopy Liz. And Loopy Liz, she really was. She put the F into 4-letter words. Over the back of where John Rushby is, we had Bob Barron. If we were fortunate, or unfortunate, whichever way you look at it, we had him for 2 days a week. 2 days he'd spend planning out how he could have 3 days of the following week off. 7 home brew stroke flour, provided it was up north. And then, down here, we had little David Storr, bless him, hunched over his table, quill in his hand, and using an 8-year-old bottle of Tippex. Poor old David. He'll be one who suffers, similar to Clive, as I mentioned earlier. Good little worker, David. Never bothered anybody, but he's a real casualty. Now all we have here is gaps mostly. Where tables were. Got a poser. Did you recognise the hand? Yes, you recognise the hand. Well, there's one person we cannot forget. And unfortunately, he's not on site. And that's your friend of mine, Captain Peacock. The only man you can sit 1 foot from when he's on the telephone and not hear a word he says.
Okay, I'll get on the van then.
I always knew how old his shoes were, what size they were, because I saw more of them than I did of him. So there's his shoes, his feet up on the table. So, he's basically in charge now. I think Pat will keep him in hand. He was a real character. If I've missed anybody out, it's not by design. There's been so many people coming down. suppose this place will end up just being razed to the ground, and all the people that work throughout the site are just forgotten about. So maybe if the video I've done is spread around a little bit, different people, it might remind us of a lot of good times, a lot of nice people, and I hope all the people that have worked here will eventually find another good place to work at, with their own set of characters. Because at the end of the day, it's been a good place. So I'm embarking on a new career. I just hope I learn as much in that one as I have from my 11 years with Paine. I have a lot to be thankful for. They've looked after me well. Learned a lot. Built up the confidence. Can ask for no more. I mean, enough of my prattle. Poor old John's trying to hide from this camera. But I'm determined to get him in view all the time. He's trying to look busy. Anyway, a lot of respect for a lot of people here. And I hope people will remember me as being a reasonable little scout kid. And just think some other factory has got to cope with me.